Howdy, Steven here for Off the Shelf Movie Night, ready to do a bonus featured breakdown for you. I just picked up off of Macari. If you don't use Macari, you probably should if you're a collector like me. It's a great resource to buy and sell physical media, and off there I picked up a really great deal on Gemini Man. I saw this movie in the theater. I know, let me just show you the back there, if you want to look. Just so we do the typical unboxing thing, although this has been out for a while, so I'm not really showing you anything that you haven't seen, but just so you see it. We've been through it. You know, no artwork there. So I got a great deal on this on Macari, and again, I saw this in the theater, and I know it got some kind of flack for not being that great or whatever, but I liked it in that sort of 90s action movie, Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of time copy thing where, no, it's not that great, but it is fun. You know, it's just a fun, pop it in and watch when you're just chilling and relaxing, not looking, you know, it's one of those times when you want the burger instead of the steak. You know? Sometimes it's just fun to pop something in that's just cotton candy or just, you know, fun. So anyway, I saw it in the theater, and I saw it in the HFR, the high frame rate, which in the theater is 120 frames a second, and I saw it in 3D. I had mixed feelings about that aspect of it, outside of anything story related. It did have that soap opera kind of look to it because there was no film grain, and it was super clear and crisp. But what I will say is, while for me the verdict is still out as far as regular cinema, it looked really good in 3D. Now, what it also did was it showed off the weaknesses. Sorry about that, my phone there. It did show off the weaknesses in the CG work, especially toward the end of the film. But the immersiveness, the depth of field in the 3D and that kind of thing looked really good with HFR. So I was interested to get this thing at home and give it a look and do sort of a breakdown on the bonus features. What I will say is you can watch it in 60 at home if you have the capability, and it doesn't give you the same effect as the 120 frames HFR in the theater. You do see the difference. Why this film isn't in 3D though, I know 3D TVs are not as prolific as they once were, but people who've bought some of the early run of 4K TVs do have 3D. I have a 3D TV in the house here. Unfortunately, my projector doesn't do 3D. I've got the UHD 65, the Optoma, which is native 4K, so I can look at things in the best possible 4K, but I don't have 3D. So anyway, with that said, let's sort of break into the extras here. Looking at this thing in 60, it looked pretty good, you know. It didn't look bad. I liked it better in 60 than I did 120. Plus, it's, you know, scaled down to 24 if you're just watching it in your out of the box settings for your TV. And it looked pretty, as far as the frame rate, it looked pretty good. Now, so let's get into the bonus features. That's what we're here for with this bonus features breakdown. The first thing you get is an alternative opening, and it's quite a bit different than the opening in the film. I'm gonna. There are spoilers. You know, we're gonna be spoiling the film here a little bit. So if you haven't watched it, you may want to take a look at the film before we get into this too deep. Now, in the trailers, we do see that there are two versions of Will Smith's character: the younger version and the older version of him. And while I know going into the theater that's not a surprise or meant to be a big reveal, this alternate opening does kind of reveal too much, though. The original opening of the film, if you remember, just has Will Smith's character assassinating a guy on a train. The alternate opening shows him still doing that, while the other Will Smith is also assassinating someone completely different. And it shows the similarities in which they work. And I felt like that was a little too, I don't know, too on the nose, a little too spoilery for the opening of the film, and I'm glad they chose not to do that. The next thing you get is some deleted scenes. There's nothing special here, nothing that adds anything. It's kind of good that they're gone because it helped with the pacing of the film. Well, sounds like thunder upstairs. It's probably just cats. So also we have the genesis of Gemini Man, and this is a lengthy discussion by cast and crew on the sort of gestation period that the script went through and how long it was in development. And I won't spoil this, I'll let you discover it in watching the bonus features yourself, but there is a reveal of kind of who started out in the role and how it changed and that kind of thing. So you'll get to see in this featurette sort of the history of where the film has been. The script has existed since the 90s, and you can tell it feels like a 90s sci-fi action film, as I said. So it is a good documentary featurette with some interesting behind-the-scenes stories about where Gemini Man came from, and then how it ended up in Will Smith's lab. So next up on the list we have Facing Yourself. It's called Facing Yourself. So featurette specifically about Will Smith playing himself, the younger version and the older version, and the things he went through as an actor to try and create those two characters, and what he did specifically the same and what he did different to sort of be two versions of himself, and the challenges he had to become his younger self once again. And they hit on things he did with his voice and mannerisms and that kind of thing. So it's a good documentary feature. It's not super long, but it's interesting to hear an actor discuss his process. The Future Is Now is what you would think. It's sort of an observation of the technology used to make the film. The facial mapping in particular. I think it was somewhat successful. Sometimes it looks really, really good, and sometimes it looks really bad. They focus on these particular scenes where two characters hug each other, and I don't know why they focus on those, because in the film they look bad. The body language of the hugs feels weird to me in those two couple of scenes, and to me that's when some of the technology doesn't work, but they seem to think that it did. It's very odd. It's good. You get to see how Will Smith had to act with not only the markers on his face that you've seen before, but also a camera dangling in his face, mounted like a headgear, and how the other actors had to interact with him wearing that headgear. So setting the action, this is a feature focused on some of the action scenes, the motorcycle scene in particular, the motorcycle chase scene, which story-wise I had a real issue with, because there's a part where Will Smith is able to do a push-up off the ground and toss himself into the air, essentially. This is a superhero move, and neither of versions of him, neither his older version or his younger version, are established to be superhuman or able to defy gravity. So that scene always throws me off in this film, even though it's a science fiction film. In the world that has been built, it doesn't work. It's just done for cheesy action, and the CG is not the best there. I'm just going to tell you. The thing about science fiction, you can do anything you want, as long as you do two things: you establish the rules of what this world is, and you maintain a consistency to those rules throughout the film. It's when you do something like this where you break your own rules that it kind of throws the storytelling off. But anyway, it's a good observation of sort of what they did with technology to execute some of the action scenes. It's good. This one, Next Level Detail, I was really happy to see this featurette. It's not as long as I think it should be, but I loved seeing Next Level Detail in contrast with all of the focus there was on the CG work, because Next Level Detail focuses on the actual physical production work, the production art, the set design, the painting, the sculpting, all the work that went into building one set in particular. I wish they had done more of the locations, but maybe more of them is CG than even I caught. But there's a catacombs fight in the film, and you see it in the trailer. Well, this particular featurette walks through the production artist, showing you literally all the detail that was put into the design of this set to make it immersive and real. And the fact that it was being shot in HFR and very high resolution meant they had to spend extra time to really make sure everything looked good, because the audience was going to see it. This is maybe my favorite featurette on the set, because it goes against everything that was promoted. This movie was all about the technology and the CG, and this spent time in some of what makes traditional Hollywood so special. And the last featurette is The Vision of Ang Lee. This was one I was looking forward to because I wanted to hear Ang Lee discuss why he wanted to shoot in HFR. Why shoot in high frame rate? Why make your movie look like a soap opera when you are somebody who's a filmmaker who's been around for a very long time? So Ang Lee, this is kind of covered throughout, and you'll hear some anecdotes about this, but Ang Lee tends to get very much into the philosophy of filmmaking and the character and what is meant for each character movement and what the look of each character is and why you don't choose a lens for a camera because it's a cool lens or because it makes the shot beautiful. What is the shot supposed to do? What is the goal of the shot? What is the emotional impact? What is the story motivation for the shot? And then that's how you choose what you're shooting with. It gets very deep into it, for better or for worse. And so I expected that level of, sort of depth getting into why HFR. And you don't really get it, really. I mean, to boil it down, he literally just says that he thinks anything under 120 frames a second in 3D is too flickery. So he specifically, this movie was shot for 3D, and he believes HFR makes 3D better. And I agree with him. It did. For 3D specifically, you can't beat HFR. It doesn't really go a whole lot deeper than that. Other than that, we get some cast and crew commentary on working with Ang Lee and, what his storytelling approach is and all that business. It's good. It's okay. It's not what I would have, as deep as I would have liked. And that gets to some negative about this film is I needed a commentary. I would love to have sat with him through the entire film and listen to him discuss the film with, knowing his perspective on filmmaking and the work that he does. It would be interesting to have sat and watched an entire commentary. So when you get this set, it comes with a Blu-ray and a 4K. So be aware, all of the bonus features are on the Blu-ray. When you pop in the 4K, you get one additional bonus feature, and it is literally sort of a rendering to final look at some CG scenes, especially in particular the motorcycle scene when the motorcycle is driving through the city. What parts of that were originally CG, and you see it drawn, then you see it painted, and then you see the final. It's like sort of this progression of creation of those sequences, and that's okay. It's all right. Again, this thing needed a commentary. I know in the scheme of things, based off how much money it made the box office, it's not a big, successful movie that they want to do a big special edition of, but it does have meaning because of the way it was shot. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more in the way of bonus features, but what's here is pretty good. There's some good stuff here. I like to hear the actor Will Smith talking about the character, hearing about where the script started and its evolution to finally become film, and also all the aggressive work that was done at building one of the sets. Those are my favorite parts of this. And then you've got quite a bit of time. You've got over an hour of stuff to watch. So all things considered, in this day and age, as far as what we're getting bonus feature-wise, this is pretty good. So pick yourself up a copy of Gemini Man if you like Will Smith and you like cheesy sci-fi action. You should pick it up. And if you're a fan of bonus features, I recommend picking this one up. The bonus features here are good from a filmmaking perspective. There's good stuff here. And also, the 4K looks nice. It is a very bright, crispy 4K. So if you're looking for something that's demo quality in your 4K home theater, then Gemini Man you can't really go wrong with. So I hope you've enjoyed this discussion. Let me know if you've watched the bonus features and what you liked and didn't like about it. And tell me in your comments, is there a film or a Blu-ray that you would like me to do a bonus feature breakdown on? If I have it, I'll do it. And tell me what your favorite bonus features are. What do you like to watch? Do you just like making of? Do you like, like me, do you like to hear about set design and that kind of thing? What is it you like and don't like in bonus features? And please give me a subscribe and hit that like button. The like button really helps get us out there in the search algorithm. I just picked up some stuff. I'm getting a lot of things in this week from Macari. So there will be stuff on my Instagram. So hit me up on OTS Movie Night, and you'll see pictures of all the things I'm buying. I was going to show you a really quick sneak preview There's one. This is a Vinegar Syndrome film. I'll talk more about this later. But that's one thing that came in already. I've got a lot of stuff coming this week, some really cool things. There's a great sale happening, Arrow Video, if you're into Arrow Video, which you should be if you're a collector. Family Video, look them up online. If I can remember, I'll put a link in the description, but Family Video is having a 50% off Arrow Video sale, and I partook, and I will show you everything I bought this week when it comes in. So until the next one, pull something cool off the shelf and remind your friends and family why physical media is the best way to watch movies and TV shows. I'll see you on the next one.